During the most recent episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, Maher took about 12 to 13 minutes to tell his audience and the American people about a recent, highly controversial, and highly scrutinized dinner that he had with Donald Trump at the White House. And at various points, he actually praised Donald Trump. Then later on in that same episode, Maher was called out to his face by his own guest and became visibly triggered when his guest explains that Trump was using him as a prop to rehabilitate his own image. And even though Maher was triggered, the live audience and the audience on Maher's own YouTube page seemed to agree that Maher screwed up. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we finally heard the results of that Kid Rock coordinated dinner between Donald Trump and Bill Maher. We're going to unpack that, but first I actually want to get to the call out of Maher by Josh Rogan, a Washington Post foreign policy columnist who was a guest on Maher's show during the subsequent interview. And Maher got pissed. Maher became visibly triggered at the call out, but we're going to play this clip here in which Rogan gives the criticism of Bill Maher, and then we'll unpack exactly what Maher said to warrant the criticism in the first place.
Counterpoint?
Yes.
Counterpoint?
Yeah.
You know, Bill, I think you're right in saying that people have made too much of this, okay? It's not the Ulta Summit. You're not Churchill. Kid Rock is not Stalin. Trump sure shit isn't FDR, okay? So, yes, I believe too much has been made about this, but I think you've fallen into the trap. I think I represent 99% of the internet when I say this, is that you've played the game of proximity is principle. And what people are worried about is not your motivation. We believe you. I'm questioning Trump's, okay? And if we can say that you went there in good faith, but maybe, just maybe, he wasn't there in good faith. I mean, you sold him on the Iran deal and he took it in. I mean, give me a break, okay?
You don't have to patronize me, dude.
Okay.
I don't know you. I never met you.
I'm just saying that this comes from
not
a place
everybody
of
has
love.
to like it.
All I'm
That's
saying
what we
is-
said. There are people who didn't want it to happen at all. You sound like one of them. It's
No,
okay.
no.
But did
I
you
don't
hear
not mad at it.
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Like, what is the alternative to not talking? Just sit at your lunch table and don't talk to anybody.
I talked to him. I've interviewed Trump. Here's his interview.
That's not it. That's just not an interview. This was not an interview.
I agree with the principle of engagement. I'm just saying, from his perspective, you have to understand that people out there know, all Americans know, that for him this was a PR stunt, and in his view, you were a prop in that PR stunt. Okay.
So that got applause from Maher's own audience, and Maher was obviously visibly triggered. Don't patronize me. I don't think it was patronizing. I think he was trying to say, hey, listen, I'm not bitching at you as someone who hates your guts. I'm a fan of yours. I respect you. I even agree with the principle of engagement, but you were a prop that Trump used to sane wash, to try to launder his reputation with independent, centrist moderates in this country. So let's look at it, okay? Let's look at some of the things that Bill Maher said. I can't play the full 12-minute clip, but we're going to read about it, okay? You should definitely check it out on Real Time with Bill Maher's YouTube channel. They put the whole thing up. It's actually called Mr. Maher Goes to Washington. So, how does Mediaite report this? Bill Maher praised Donald Trump as, quote, gracious and measured during their recent White House meeting while providing a book report from the night's events to his audience. Quote, you can hate me for it, but I'm not a liar. Trump was gracious and measured. And why he isn't that in other settings, I don't know, and I can't answer, and it's not my place to answer. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I wasn't high. The comedian showed a printout of dozens of insults Trump has thrown his way over the years, including calling him a sleazebag, stone cold crazy, a really dumb guy, and more. Maher revealed that Trump actually signed the list. Maher said he did not receive pushback from Trump when questioning some of his positions, and was also shocked to hear Trump admit he lost the 2020 election. Quote, I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will. Me, I feel it's emblematic of why Democrats are so unpopular these days. At one point during the dinner, Maher confronted Trump and accused him of scaring his own citizens too much with talk of a third term and more. Quote, at one point I said to him, you're scaring people. Do you really want to be scaring your own citizens so much? And I know what you're all saying. And what did he say next? Honestly, I don't remember, but it wasn't, okay, I'll stop. So MAGA fans, don't worry. Your boy gave me nothing, just hats. Hats and a very generous amount of time and a willingness to listen and accept me as a possible friend, even though I'm not MAGA, which was the point of the dinner. USA Today also has a full transcript of things. And I do want to say this before I get into my own criticism, that this part right here. Look, I get it. It doesn't matter who he is as a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage. I'm just taking it as a positive that this person exists, because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. So, Maher acknowledges, which is one of the few redeeming aspects of this, that however Trump treated him in private is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. And it is. It really is. So let's look at some of the backlash that Maher is getting on his own comments page, because you heard how the audience reacted, right? When Josh Rogan was actually pushing back on Maher to his face and triggering Maher. They agree. And if you look at the comments section, you get a lot of this as well. Scroll down here. Always remember, don't believe what they say, watch what they do. So again, saying what Trump says to you in private is irrelevant. Watch what he does. Sociopaths are absolutely amazing at being charming when they need to be. I'm surprised that Maher didn't see this charming side of Donald Trump as indicative of a sociopathy. Bernie Madoff and Ted Bundy were both charming as hell when the situation called for it. While I appreciate your willingness to turn the other cheek in an effort to come together, ultimately I believe you were successfully conned by the greatest con man of our time. Never judge a man by his words or manners. Judge him by what he does to people. Remember, everyone, it's one big club, and you're not in it. I was at first heartened by this piece, and then remembering Silence of the Lambs, wonder if Bill could tell if Trump may be a sociopath or a psychopath. The difference between the two Trumps certainly suggests that. His own niece, a physiologist, I think he probably meant a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I believe, raises the issue. The both sides are equally extreme as getting so old. It's not both sides burning the country down. Really don't understand Maher's surprise at Trump's charm and personability. He's pointed out multiple times over the years that by all accounts, Trump is very engaging and friendly with whomever he's meeting in close quarters. And you don't think Trump's normal behavior was intentional, so you'd give him a better score? So Bill's studio audience is insufferable. It's great that Maher kissed the newfound hero's ring. Remember, a leopard never changes its spots. Trump charmed Bill's pants off. You both love yourself immensely. Bill sounds like Trump when he visited Putin or Kim Jong-un for the first time. All dictators tend to be charming in person. So again, as you can see, for the most part, most of the people commenting are not happy about this. Now, Bill Maher, it doesn't give a damn. And there are two extremes in this, okay? Somebody who's a content creator, obviously a fraction of the fame and success that Maher has had. I will tell you, there are two extremes. The one extreme is you care too much about what other people think, and you care too little. I know we celebrate in America this idea of I don't give a damn what this person says. I do think you should give a damn. I think it should be within reason. And if my audience comes back to me with relentless criticism about a particular thing, maybe I still disagree with it. Maybe I will still do, like, for example, I get a lot of pushback from you guys about the phrase unpack before we unpack all that. That's not going away. I understand that it drives some of you nuts, but I don't script any of my videos, and it's just an easy catchphrase for me to remember to make sure, you guys like and subscribe and all that. And I'm not going to take the time to try to memorize something else. It's just an easy reflexive stock phrase that makes the point. Other criticisms, more substantive criticism, I would certainly take into consideration. Maher's really not that kind of guy, so I don't think that this is going to change his behavior at all. He revels in how unapologetically he will give his audience the finger over substantive issues. But I do think it's worth noting that longtime fans of Bill Maher, and even people who attended the audience in person, clearly don't like this and probably have good reason not to like this. So here's how I feel about it. Do I have an issue with people engaging with Donald Trump? No, I don't. Do I think that what Bill Maher did was the equivalent of bending the knee and kissing the ring? No, I don't, because he does criticize. If you watch this full episode, he criticizes Donald Trump during the monologue and the recent tariff flip-flops. He actually criticizes Trump during his 13-minute recounting of his visit to Mar-a-Lago, his visit to the White House. And he points out times that he either mocked Trump to his face, roasted Trump to his face, called out. At one point, for example, he says Trump asked Maher what Maher thinks Trump should do about Iran's nuclear ambitions. And Maher smugly pointed out, and rightly did, you screwed up because you tore up President Obama's nuclear Iran deal. That was working. You ruined it. Maybe we should go back to that. I imagine that takes balls to and all kinds of fortitude to say that to Donald Trump, who is the most powerful man on earth and a vindictive, malignant narcissist who has a vengeful streak a mile wide. That's all good. So I just want to be clear. This was not a love fest of Donald Trump. He interviews Steve Bannon, Bill Maher does, after he gives the book report of the White House trip, and he spars with Steve Bannon, calls out Steve Bannon about the third term stuff, and takes shots at Trump. So I just want to be clear. This is not Bill Maher capitulating to Trump, but in terms of the praise he gave about how in private, Donald Trump wasn't crazy at all. He was personable. That really frustrates me that Bill Maher felt the need to, that astounded him, number one, and number two, that he thinks that means anything. This idea that Donald Trump is only, because at one point he says something to the effect of, he thinks it's better. He feels a bit better that Donald Trump is not actually crazy. He merely plays a crazy person. I don't know how I feel about that. To me, it's like that arguably makes it worse, right? If everything Bill Maher says is true and Trump has enough shrewdness and self-awareness to rein in his excesses and foibles in a private conversation and performatively is vengeful and narcissistic and cruel and authoritarian and anti-information and anti-democracy and all these things, then that's a choice, right? He's deliberately choosing to do the wrong thing as opposed to some sort of cognitive or psychological defect. You don't get points for being sane in private and being performatively insane in public when you wield the most powerful office in the world and your actions hurt people. So this is how I feel about it. Am I going to bash Bill Maher on it? No, but I do think he screwed up. I do think that he took the wrong lesson from this. I appreciate the fact that he says it doesn't matter, that he recognizes that how Trump treated him in private is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, and what Trump does in public is infinitely more important, and it's infinitely worse than how Trump treated him, so it shouldn't matter at all. But spending 12 minutes saying, Trump was really nice and personable, again, it's not a surprise to anybody. He was a socialite and a celebrity for decades, right? If you ever watch his pre-political interviews on Conan and Larry King and Oprah, yes, Donald Trump can be charming. That's not a surprise. And it doesn't really merit both a 12-minute monologue about it and also a visit to the White House when, as his own audience notes, Bill Maher is aware of this too. So all Bill Maher has confirmed is that Donald Trump is capable of treating people, even for cynical purposes, with respect, and yet chooses deliberately to scare the hell out of his own constituents and to aggressively punish his opponents, to try to steal the outcomes of free and fair elections. And he does it not because, in Bill Maher's estimation, he reflexively just can't help it because he's genuinely crazy, but he chooses to. I think that's worse. And I think Bill Maher deserves the pushback he's getting. Do I think Bill Maher should be canceled as a consequence of this? No. Do I think the dinner could have been worse? Yes. Will I be paying very close attention to how Maher addresses Trump in the near future if he pulls his punches? Yes. But I don't know. I just think it's worth noting that I think on some level even Bill Maher recognizes it because he got so damn triggered by Josh Rogan. And shout out to Josh Rogan for calling Bill Maher out to his face about being used as a prop by the biggest con man in modern American history. You should definitely check out the full episode for yourself. Come to your own conclusions. I want to hear what you have to say. Maybe you have a different take on it, but I'm not happy with what happened, but it was not as bad as I feared it might be. That's where I fall. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.